Alright, let's talk about polarization. It sounds like a complicated science term, maybe something to do with penguins or batteries, but it's actually much simpler and frankly much more terrifying. Imagine your country is a pizza, a delicious, cheesy, united pizza. Now imagine someone draws a thick, indelible line down the middle. One side, pineapple lovers. Other side, pineapple haters. Suddenly it's not just a topping preference, it's identity. Pineapple haters think lovers are morally bankrupt monsters. They want to ruin pizza for everyone. Pineapple lovers think haters are joyless traditionalists, stuck in the past. That, in a greasy nutshell, is political polarization. Society splits into two opposing camps. The middle ground vanishes fast. It's not just disagreement. We've always disagreed. Now disagreement becomes our whole personality. We don't just vote differently, we are different. So what are these big scary topics that have us at each other's throats? First up, the all-star of arguments, immigration. For those on the right, the core issue is often about national security, sovereignty, and cultural preservation. They see uncontrolled borders as a threat, arguing that it strains public services, depresses wages for low-skilled workers. Then, you have the left's perspective, which tends to focus on humanitarianism, economic benefits, and multiculturalism. They argue that immigrants are often fleeing persecution or seeking a better life, and that wealthy nations have a moral obligation to help. Next on the conflict agenda is the small, insignificant issue of our planet being on fire, otherwise known as climate change. On one side, largely the left, you have an overwhelming scientific consensus that human activity is causing catastrophic global warming. They advocate for urgent, large-scale government action, transitioning to renewable energy, regulating industries, and international cooperation. For them, this is an existential crisis where inaction is tantamount to collective suicide. If you feel like the gap between left and right has become a canyon, well, the data is here to tell you. You're not imagining it. Let's look at the United States, the poster child for polarization. A 2021 Pew study found the median Republican is now more conservative than 97% of Democrats. The median Democrat is more liberal than 95% of Republicans. Think about that. We've gone from a gentle slope of political views to two distinct mountains with a massive valley in between. It's not just that we disagree, we live in different ideological universes. The common ground where compromise happens has all but evaporated. This isn't just about policy, it's about pure, unadulterated animosity. The same Pew study showed a majority of Republicans and Democrats now hold a very unfavorable view of the other party. But back in 1994, that number was below 25%. We've more than doubled our hatred in less than a generation. 63% of Republicans now see the other party as enemies. 54% of Democrats feel the same. When you view half the country as the enemy, you're not in a political debate anymore. You're in a cold civil war. This trend isn't just American, it's spreading across Europe too, a global phenomenon. For a long time, the violence of polarization was mostly metaphorical. We talked about fighting for our beliefs and attacking opponents' arguments. But now, the line between rhetoric and reality is getting dangerously blurry. The anger simmering online and on cable news is spilling onto the streets. The most glaring example is the January 6th, 2021 attack on the US Capitol. Fueled by a relentless campaign of misinformation about a stolen election, thousands, convinced they were patriots saving democracy, stormed the seat of American government. It was a shocking physical manifestation of what happens when a group believes the system is so corrupt, violence is the only answer. This wasn't an isolated event, it was the culmination of a rising tide of political violence. According to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, threats against public officials, election workers, school board members, have skyrocketed. An investigation by Reuters documented over 900 threatening and harassing messages to election officials in just over a year. People are showing up at their homes threatening their families. This creates a chilling effect on democracy itself. It's a slow, deliberate dismantling of civil society, one threat at a time. So, we've established that we're all at each other's throats. The numbers prove it, and it's starting to get violent. But what does this escalating polarization actually mean for an ordinary person? Just trying to get through their day without having a political aneurysm? Well, for starters, it means a government that is completely, utterly useless. When politicians spend all their time fighting culture wars and scoring points, they spend zero time and energy actually governing. Crumbling roads and bridges don't get fixed. Healthcare costs continue to spiral. This gridlock makes us incredibly vulnerable. A divided nation is a weak nation, a new pandemic, a major economic crash, a national security threat from a foreign adversary. Every crisis becomes partisan point scoring instead of national unity. We saw this with COVID-19. Masks became identity markers. Vaccines became identity markers. On a personal level, this division is poisoning our relationships and communities. Thanksgiving dinners have become political minefields. Friendships of decades are ending over election results. People are unfriending family members on social media. We're retreating into bubbles where we only interact with people who think exactly like us. This social fragmentation is profoundly isolating and depressing. Neighbors, colleagues, family members. Human connection is being sacrificed at the altar of partisan purity. So what's the way out? There's no magic wand, obviously. A first step: deliberately step outside our echo chambers. Read a news source you disagree with. Follow someone on social media from the other side, not to argue, but to listen. Support politicians who talk about compromise and unity. Try to remember the humanity of the people on the other side. Most of them aren't evil monsters, they're just regular people.